Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a Wednesday, 1 o'clock. It's Investment Show. My name is Sasha Star. I'd like to introduce my distinguished guests. It's Nick Paliveda, one of the founders of the IBM network. And
I bring my Peter Bennett,
investor and great knowledge of the market. And we'll discuss what's happening these days in the stock market. How are you doing? Nick is doing very well with his dogs of the Dow, right? The Walgreen is
I call it the dogs and dividends of the Dow, Sasha.
Yeah, that's right. And the Walgreen is spectacular stock. I wish I would sell everything and just have Walgreen and that's it. And forget about diversification and everything else. Who needs diversification when you have Walgreen?
Well, I think the market's maybe hit a top now. You had been afraid of, a decline, and it may be coming. But I think I'm seeing like lower volatility in a lot of the stocks that I follow and own. And I think sort of people, they're invested if they want to be, and the market's very inflated right now, and there's so much uncertainty. So I think things are going to be slow for a while now in terms of just flat, and I think it'll be like a little up and a little down because people are very uncertain right now. There's so much uncertainty, more than ever. I mean, and we had such a big increase, but now I think we're going to plane off for quite a while, maybe for the rest of the year.
Well, the problem I have, Peter, is finding good deals. I don't know if you know that happened in the real estate market. I was able to find some good real estate deals, cash out some nice six-figure amounts back in 2015, 2010, maybe a little earlier than that. But today, I always look at real estate deals and always look at the end of the day. I go, the value isn't there. In other words, you get there's no real big upside right now in the real estate market. So I kind of moved over to the stock market where I think there are some good deals. But you know what, Peter, they're becoming harder and harder to find. I mean, because it looks like the run-ups have already took place. And when I say the run-ups already took place, let's share the screen and we'll go take a look at Walgreens Boots Alliance, which was Sasha's great pick for me. Thank you. And I loaded up on it after the TV show. I got to run the disclaimer that this is for entertainment purposes anyway, not designed solely to help the pocketbook of Nick Palavita. But if you go look at Walgreens, look, it's like $50 a share. And let's go back in time a little bit and see what happens. Actually, it was higher at one time. I bought way down at I think it was around 30 something a share.
It was 38 probably.
Yeah, I got it I got in the 30s, Sasha, and I got it way down here at the bottom when we were talking about it. It was probably about 34 share. And all of a sudden I see a 34%, at least on my books, it shows a 30% rate of return in like 2 months. I'm going like, whoa. Normally my spider sense would say, get out, because how can a company that has done fundamentally nothing different, be worth 30% more in 2 months?
Nick, you should appreciate one thing. It's much easier to get from $50 to 60 than from 40 to 50.
Yeah, but this
right?
Sasha, when we were talking about it, I actually went and bought it in the low. It was in the 30s. I remember that when you and I were talking about it, I said, okay, I'll go ahead and buy Walgreens Boots Alliance. I wish I'd put more money in because it had been it's my biggest winner right now. And I thought, well, the theory was that people are going to go to Walgreens more to get their coronavirus than buy stuff. They'll have a run up a little bit on they're selling their outrageously overpriced other products. So I thought, well, and they had a good dividend, I believe. So yeah, dog plus dividend. I like that. So even if it was bad, I got a good dividend. So I shrugged my shoulders. I don't really care. And then all of a sudden, it had this big run up. But now I'll look at it. Historically, it still may have some potential. So my plan is actually to keep it because for a while. But at some point in time, I'm going to have to put a sell order out at some outrageous price. I mean, if it goes to something like 75, 80 a share, or
huge mistake.
I'm going to
I'll tell you what you should do, Nick.
Just
you
keep
should
it?
buy now when it's $50 or so. Buy twice as many more shares as you already bought. Your average will be around $45, $46. And stock is 50 and going higher and higher. It will go to $60, no problem whatsoever, in good market and bad market. And at 75, it will be taken over. It's a takeover target because of its cash generation.
Okay.
That's all what there is to it.
Okay, Sasha, let's talk about takeovers. It just hit the papers the other day because I did play the takeover market and the takeover market. Oh, EA to buy maker of mobile games. I don't know if you saw that. Right. And the name of the company was Glue Mobile. Never even heard of it, but it didn't matter because takeover companies I invest in, even though I don't hear about them, because what happens, there's usually a spread between the offer price, which is $12.50 a share, and the current market price. At least that happened when I traded the Apollo Group deal. Okay, so I would go in and buy, and it's not a big amount. It'd be trading at 12 a share, and the offer on the table is $12.50. I'd load up at 12 a share because when the deal goes through, I just make an extra 50 cents for, frankly, doing nothing. Okay, per share, but you got to buy a lot of shares. Obviously, it's not profitable. And
Nick, wait a sec. You're running ahead of yourself. What? You didn't buy Walgreens as a takeover play, not at all. You bought it as a dividend play, it's still there. You bought it that it's underappreciated, it's still there. So the takeover comes much later as a sweetener of everything else.
Wait, Sasha, let me ask you, why do you think it's underappreciated? Because, I'm a little skeptical of Walgreens, although I have it as part of like an XLP type fund where you spread it out among consumer staples, because it's very hard to decide which ones are going to be the winners and losers, in my opinion. So I'd rather own them all for the long run, as long as they have nice dividends inside of the fund. But like as I said, similar to XLP. But why Walgreens? Why not CVS, or why not any of the other consumer staples? Explain to me your thinking.
I think CVS is a much better run company, and with all other things being equal, CVS is a better managed company than Walgreens, that's for sure. However, Walgreens just recently installed new CEO, and the company began a streamlined its operation. It's still generating a lot of cash, so the free cash per flow per share is still very significant. The dividend is still there and probably will remain same. It could go actually a little bit higher too. I don't dismiss that opportunity. But
he froze up.
He just froze up. Yeah. I was about to ask him about puts. Maybe we should.
Well, see, the problem is that the real question is how much capital do you want to allocate to one particular area? Oh, yeah. And so the thing is, see, Peter, my problem is that I don't want to put all my capital in that if there's another better deal out there.
It's an opportunity cost.
It's an opportunity cost. As a matter of fact, what I was trying to get to as soon as it gets back on is there's usually a takeover play spread, and I've played this game a couple times. One with it was actually Rite Aid being acquired by Walgreens, oddly enough, and I lost that game because the feds came in and disallowed the takeover or the
that's always how they
that's the risk. That's the risk, and then
that's the arbitrage.
Okay, and then my Rite Aid stock fell like a tank, but then I made out like a bandit when Apollo Management was being taking over the Apollo Education Group. Okay, and I loaded up on a spread. It wasn't much, 50 cents a spread. So you got 50 cents a share. because
I have a friend who made like $14 million.
Yeah, you got to push a lot of.
Put my options on these things.
Yeah, you got to put a lot of.
But he
capital.
says it's very hard now because it's much tighter spreads.
Well. See, you're right. I mean, the thing is, I was going back then.
People weren't aware of it. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, but you're right. But see, I would put a lot of capital into a spread, and when Apollo took over, all I did is cash in thousands of dollars. The risk was. That the takeover didn't take place, and I hold Apollo independently, and that was the risk. Same the risk that I had with the Rite Aid takeover. So now there's another one, Electronics Arts, going on right now, and I was going to show GLC, and I'm going to share the screen so you can see what I'm talking about on this. So let me go to share screen, and I'll. But here, and I'll also
announced merger.
Glue. Yeah, this is announced merger. Glue Mobile. You'll take a look at it. Is being taken over by Electronic Arts. Electronic Arts is a big company we are all familiar with.
Sure.
Glue Mobile. Honestly, I'd never heard of it. Okay, but here's the problem. Okay, here's the problem. The current offer on the table by Electronic Arts is $12.50 a share. Normally, this would be going at, and it just had a run up of 37%. I mean, you can see this in the last.
It's going for more than $12.50. So.
That's the problem. It's going more than $12.50, and I'm going.
But the other side is it's possible that they're going to say no, we'll sell to for $12.80, or that's the complication of mergers.
I know that, but see, usually they trade under.
Right.
Okay. Generally, the ones I've been involved in, they all trade under the offer price. So
not this one.
Yes, this is trading over the offer price.
Right.
The offer price is $12.50, and the market.
Market's got the idea, I guess, right? In this case, anyway.
But okay, wait a minute. The market, the offer on the table is $12.50, and the market bid it up to $12.60.
Yeah.
Okay, after it just bid up the stock 37%, Peter. I mean,
Look at that. Are you saying you should short it? I don't think you are.
No, I'm not going to short it. I'm bewildered.
Yeah, well, the market's been more mysterious than ever lately. You know what? While we're waiting for Sasha to get back, I have an important point I wanted to bring up about last week's session.
Yes.
I had said, first of all, that I was a little nervous about telecom because the subject of Tesla came up and Starlink, which I researched a bit. And the idea was that Tesla, and this is interesting. I mean, Tesla's working on putting satellites in the sky, and they're going to be able to, provide telephones, internet service to a lot of different people around the world potentially. But the more, I was saying, well, maybe Tesla's a little better, and maybe my telecommunication stocks are a little weak. And I particularly like TELUS, by the way. I have 2% of my allocation in TELUS because it has a 4.5% dividend, and it's promised to keep growing the dividend for several years. It's easily covering it. And I had a few others too, which I dropped, but that was the main one I liked. I don't like the U.S. telecoms as much because they're paying so much for 5G now, spectrum, that I'm nervous about all of them. They're going to just be driven by debt. But the point was that when I looked into these satellites, there's a lot of issues with these satellites. First of all, they have to put a lot up there. Two, they don't even own the spectrum right now, so they have to buy the spectrum for the satellites to operate. But another thing is that the antennas that follow the satellites, the antennas have to move, and they also have. There's 2 points about this. One, they have to be mounted on a roof, and they're 19 inches. So a lot of people might say, I don't want an antenna on my roof like DirecTV. But the big thing is, the antennas have to move to track the satellites, and that movement wears out the antennas. So then you have to buy a new antenna after a period of time. So I'm not saying it's not going to work, because Tesla and Bitcoin, which Musk, by the way, just bought into, and all this stuff is very speculative. But it made me rethink and realize, and the footnote is, what's clear is that they'll be able to reach regional areas. Like, let's say you're in a really isolated area. This is going to be fabulous, because that'll be, the only way you can really get 100 meg internet speeds, which is if you're in the middle of Alaska, or someplace where you don't get any internet. But in terms of replacing 5G and all these companies on the ground, and also who are buying satellites, it's very like everything with Musk. It's very speculative. So here's the bottom line: I went back into Tesla. I started dumping it, although I got rid of TELNY, which I'll probably regret, which is Telenor from Norway, and that looked pretty solid, and Swisscom. But I decided I'll just go with the main one, which I know the best, which is and that should I'll watch it, but these satellites are 5 to 8 years off. So I wanted to clarify that about the last show.
Okay. Yeah. And I think it's long term. In other words, like Tesla before. But remember Amazon, I don't know if you remember when it started. I was in Seattle starting our business a couple of years after Jeff was starting his. I made the mistake not seeing the power of the internet he did on stupid books. But he was, hey, Peter, he was $1 billion in the hole. I mean, in the hole. He already lost $1 billion. There were talks about holding being a bad idea. Are you kidding me? Selling books on the internet, and at the same time, there's a guy, Naveen Jain, who started a couple companies that also went under. And around the year 2000, early 2000, I had people come to my office with all these .coms. The guy goes, "I'm worth 80 million." You know how much his real worth was?
No.
0.
Oh wow!
He lost everything.
Leverage.
In other words, right. So what happened?
Yes.
What happened is that he invested all the .coms. This was during the .com boom, Peter,
Oh.
and all the .coms became just worthless. They were just something .com. He had all these .coms. At the end, his financial statement showed 80 million, but there was no 80 million there. It was all fluff and stuff. And within a year, it was all gone completely.
Oh yeah, the .com was a huge bubble.
Yeah, right. And by the way, Amazon was one of those .coms back then, and and Microsoft was there. I met with a lot of Microsofties, and their stock, they were going. And they come in, they'd have millions of dollars in Microsoft stock. I said, "Why don't you diversify?" "Oh, Microsoft always goes up." That was the answer. I said, "Well, you should diversify." Do you know what happened the next decade? Microsoft stock went nowhere.
Right.
Seriously.
Really solid now.
Right. No. It's gone up a lot since they changed management. In other words, they have Nardella in there, but with Ballmer in there and all these other people, it went nowhere for the decade.
I still like Microsoft as an investment. I like it more than I still have, through options and different positions, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon. But out of the three, the one I'm most confident is Microsoft. I think, first of all, they're less likely to be broken up, and they're not really involved in this political discussion of 232 regulations. And as today they came out, they're very smart. They came out today and said, to the government, we need more clarification on communications. But that's not really their avenue. What they're really saying is go get Google and go get Facebook. On the regulations and to define what they can put out, and what they're allowed to censor. It's a big issue. But for Microsoft, I don't think it's as big a deal.
Yeah, the thing is, but Microsoft, though, has had its what I call run-up period. And usually once they have a run-up, I kind of like run away because the profits are kind of like squeezed out of the company. So there was one company, believe it or not, that I had been following and I finally invested in. You might be familiar with it. I'll share the screen. And we've heard about it. It's been around a long time. It's called our namesake, the person that we started working with.
IBM,
Called IBM. Okay, now normally I would go, well, why would you invest? And you just like lawyers listen to arguments of counsel going both ways. Okay, they always have arguments. Hey, you shouldn't buy. You should buy. Well, I went ahead and loaded up on IBM stock because here's what happens. If you look at the PE ratio of 19.51, all the other tech companies except them trade at much higher ratios than they do. So their price earnings ratio is pretty low. And then if you go back, you also look, they're trading at a low end of the stock, and they're in a sector which is fundamentally sound. But the key thing that I liked about them is they have more patents than any other company on the planet. So they have more opportunity probably than any other company on the planet to develop their intellectual property and potentially make a profit or sell that intellectual property. So I don't know. Oh, but the last reason they're paying a dividend they're committed to, which is about 5%. I'm back to dividends and dogs. If it has a high dividend, it's a dog, And right now, IBM's a dog, paying a high dividend. Fundamentals are sound. I go, why not? So I loaded up on IBM stock. And the other reason is, hey, it's hard to find deals out there. You know what I mean? In other words,
What's the yield on that?
yeah, I'd have to go back and look again, but
Oh,
it was in the, I think it was in the 5% range.
Wow. Yeah, I see
You
its
know?
cash flow, which I always look at, and dividend stocks, particularly price
Yeah,
to cash flow, is 9. So they're actually producing 11% cash flow to cover that 5% dividend, which is good.
right,
I see their sales for the last year are down 4.6%, so
correct.
that offsets it. I've always been uncertain on IBM. It's like
You know,
one of those battleground stocks in my mind because I haven't been in it, but I feel like here's one of the questions: is the patents? Are they
are they worth anything?
right? Are they
Yeah,
really worth it, or is everything being replaced? So they're just old patents, or
hard,
it's
really hard,
impossible to say.
hard to tell when they have 2,000 of them. Who's going to go
Right.
review 2,000 patents?
Oh yeah.
They had more patents than any other company in the world.
And even if
Um,
you review them, you can't necessarily know the
that's right.
value because I
Yeah,
once went for a company that has patents on certain Apple technologies, and Apple keeps for years stealing their stuff, and they never. They just keep fighting the lawsuits for years, and they go on and on and on, and they never. They don't want to settle it, even though Apple is definitely stealing their stuff. And eventually maybe they'll just find a better technology. So, but I'm not arguing against IBM. It's interesting. I'll have to look at it again because they are covering their dividend very easily with cash flow right now.
yeah,
But
right.
then again, sales going down 5% makes me a little nervous because that could be. I'd have to look at a longer term trend, but I wonder if they're not being replaced by Google's and the internet world, the Facebooks and things like that, where hardware and things like that are just the past.
Yeah, here's a dog. I don't know if you can see the screen. I've been looking at is J.C. Penney
Oh
stock.
wow.
Okay, okay, and a J.C. Penney stock is truly now a penny stock. Okay, I mean,
I didn't even know they hadn't gone back. I know they've been on the verge of bankruptcy for a long time.
no, I think they're in bankruptcy, and the thing
Oh,
is,
they are now.
or they were being bought out by a group, Old Copper something or other. All right,
Yeah.
and they're
How
trading.
much is the stock trading for?
How about that's what I was trying to do. I'm trying to get it up on the list
It's
here.
only a few pennies, right?
Yeah, it's about. Was last time I looked, it was 10 cents a share.
Yeah, I think it's a zero because I've read this. I don't know if this is true in their case, but I've read that a lot of these
Oh, they
stocks
just went. They just went
when
up.
they're bankrupt, people are still like they hang on and they buy
Right.
them saying, "Oh, maybe it'll go from 10 cents to $100." But in
Well,
effect, the
hey, listen. A couple days ago, you could have loaded up at 10 cents a share. It's gone up to 13 cents a share.
oh, there you
Peter,
go.
a 30% rate of return in a couple days.
Yeah, but
Wow,
the problem is the
wow.
bankruptcy court probably says, "Okay, equity, you're gone in the final negotiation," and all these people have been hanging on and just hanging on for the heck of it. But
Yeah,
where are
yeah, but see,
the
I don't think the bankruptcy court's going to do that for this reason. The
really?
buyer, the buyer or the person who's putting money into it. Here's the deal.
Oh,
They have all these places in malls around the country.
sure. Yeah, they
Okay,
have a lot of land. Yeah.
the malls bought J.C. Penney, so the malls own it. Now, why would a mall buy a bankrupt company? It's because if they didn't buy them, J.C. Penney folds the leases. Think about it.
Right.
Folds the leases, and you have a big empty space in your mall that was occupied by J.C. Penney.
Oh, I see.
Okay,
That's true.
so now the malls own J.C. Penney. Well, this could be an interesting play depending on how the mall works with J.C. Penney because now they own the store inside their mall, which is usually rare. Usually the mall owner's a different operator. So I have been looking at J.C. Penney. We'll get Sasha back in here. There's Sasha.
Oh, there's
Okay, he disappeared for a while.
Sorry, I had to use another computer because
Yeah, no, that's okay. Peter and I were talking about a couple plays, and then I had to bring up a real penny stock. It's called J.C. Penney. Okay, I've been following it. This is something I haven't pulled the trigger on because I'm uncertain about it because it went into bankruptcy. It's had some issues, obviously, and then the latest play was the mall owners bought J.C. Penney. Okay, so now if you go to the mall, the mall owns the store that you're shopping in, which is usually rare. Usually the mall rents the space to the JCPenney or to a Target or to a Sears. They don't own the company that's selling all those dry goods. All right. So the interesting play on this penny stock is, well, can you buy it? Because you can buy it for next to nothing. Matter of fact, a couple of days ago, it was trading at 10 cents a share. Now it went up 30%. It's 13 cents a share. Or you just throwing your money away. It's like a Hertz play. But all the other dry goods stores are astronomical. And then if you looked at the total market capitalization, Peter, they're saying it's like 30 million. In other words, you can buy the whole. You can own
Let's
all.
skip in and we'll all buy the company.
You know,
all our viewers.
All our viewers will just go own JC.
I don't think that's the company we want to buy, Nick, because bankruptcy is an ugly process. Let me tell you, and a lot of times the equity gets wiped out.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. Like I said,
because they owe a lot of debt, which takes priority, and the debtors say, okay, we're taking the assets and leaves equities with zero.
Yeah. Oh, here's the name of the new acquirer: Old Copper Company, Inc. They own JCPenney's right now, so it's owned by the Old Copper Company. Old Copper Company. But the thing is, if you think about JC, by the way, their sales last year were still 1.7 billion. It's not like it's not a cash flow company. You're talking about they're bringing the cash in. Unfortunately, they're spending more than the cash that's coming in. That 1.7 billion, and they had a bad year last year because of the coronavirus, et cetera. But if you look at all the comparables, in other words, I'm talking about the Targets, the Kohl's, they're all an astronomical La La Land, Best Buy, all these I call them the dry good stores, and how can their multiples, how can Macy's multiple be really that much greater than a JCPenney's? Come on, they sell the same garbage.
Macy's has been much more successful, though. Business.
I know. Well, you're right. And JCPenney stumbled in their management. They went away from the Macy's model of sending coupons and discounts, and Macy's aggressively markets their product to the consumer.
Yeah, Macy's had a high dividend. I don't know. I'd have to look into it.
Yeah. Well, I'm adverse to retail and adverse to airplanes anyway. So airplanes, restaurants, and retail, at least over my 37 years, were clients coming in rich today and crying tomorrow.
Wait, you're saying airlines?
Yeah, airlines. Because I know you like Delta.
I love Delta.
I like to fly Delta.
I saw puts at 45 and for June, and I sold 55 puts for 2 years from now because, first of all, they said they'd be cash flow in June and positive, which means they're going to survive. And maybe it won't be June, maybe it'll be July or August, but the vaccine's coming. But people are going to be paying a premium price to get on a plane soon. And you can say, okay, the cruise is too expensive. They've raised the cruise from 8,000 to 12,000 or 5,000 to 6,000 for the room I want, or 2,000 to 3,000. But people want to fly and they need to fly. And when Delta comes back and says, okay, well, the rates are up 20% now or 25% because we're booked, and people are going to be desperate for vacations. So that stocks, I think it's really solid.
Well, here's my problem with airlines, and they're always one air flight away from tanking. In other words, it's something that I have no control or say so over. And then I did look at Delta because I fly them. I have my credit cards with them. I got frequent flyer miles. I can fly free around the world on them. So there's a lot of stuff I like as a consumer of Delta. But maybe it's not so bad because if
they raise the rates 20%, are you going to say I'm going to drive or walk, or are you going to get on the plane?
Yeah, no, I'm getting on the plane.
Yeah, well, that's what. When they raise the rates 30%, are you going to drive or walk?
No, I'm always getting on the plane. But remember, they're also in a very competitive.
They have pricing power.
Yeah, but they're in a competitive environment.
When the demand goes up, and there's a lot of pent up demand, people have been saving a lot of money, not vacationing. And people want to go places. I mean, myself, I had a vacation plan for this year, gone. Now, next year, we're going to go on the same vacation. But now I feel like there's even more pent up demand in my own mind, but also other people I know too. Everybody who's like, well, I wanted to travel. I wanted to go on vacations, and people are going to pay whatever it's going to take when the time comes. And that'll probably be in maybe 6 months. It'll be gradual. But the point is they're going to survive. And as for Carnival, it may be fine too. I know you like Carnival.
I bought Carnival. Okay. The thing is, I'm not sure how much I like them. I went and bought them based on our conversations, Peter, that I think you're right. I think that, and there's less that can go wrong, I think, with a ship than an airplane in terms of, but obviously that's not true. There's things can go wrong with a ship too, but I believe that Carnival is going to make a comeback. The CEO says they've got enough cash to last a year, even if they didn't sell a seat. I mean, that's pretty powerful. Coronavirus is getting behind us, at least for the first time I've seen positive movements. 10% of our population has already been vaccinated in North Carolina, and the rates are starting to come down. So when that happens, people, I believe, are going to load up on taking cruises, and Carnival is going to rebound. And I agree with you on Delta. I mean, I may have to reconsider Delta because as you look at it, the stock value was higher. I'm looking at pre-pandemic.
Well, I like selling the puts like Sasha does because
sure,
it's a great strategy for the right company. Because, like you said last week, Sasha, it's like a chess game. If let's say they don't go up and they just say flat, well, then I can resell the puts. If they go down a bit, I can resell some different puts. So over the long run, I'll probably, the odds are pretty. There's so many different strategies you can do with, after the put play. So they're paying you to basically take a position even at a lower rate in some cases.
Yeah.
Peter, this strategy is basically completely changing the way you look at stocks. I don't remember when last time I ever just bought stock. Just here's a stock, $50 a share, and I bought, say, 10,000 shares. I forgot when last time I ever done it. If I like the company, okay, I will sell puts.
Yeah, I like it.
I will keep the premium, or I will get stock at reduced price, and hopefully it's the company.
Right. Yeah, I think it's great. Because I'm doing a little bit of both of that. I had a little Microsoft today as an example, and I owned a little bit, like 0.5% allocation to Microsoft, but I already had the puts, and I said, why am I in the 0.5%? I just like the puts, like you said, because I can get it. I'm going to either get Microsoft at 180, but most likely because I sold the puts at 180 a long time ago, or also just clear out all the profits.
The only regret, what you might have, the same I have regret, that I sold only 5 puts of NVIDIA instead of selling 10, maybe 20 puts.
Oh, yeah. I took your advice and I sold puts on NVIDIA, and I've done extremely well in the last 3 weeks. I actually did 10. So.
Yeah, NVIDIA, what a great company. I mean, it's... In fact, it's probably greater than I think about it.
Yeah, they jumped. They jumped from like 530 to 570. It was a great.
Well, didn't I tell you on many programs already that it's $1,000 company?
Oh, really? You think it's
$1,000? He's such a bull on the video.
Really? I'll have to look at it again. Maybe I need more.
Peter, think about this. What I said just earlier about Walgreen. I'm not trying to compare Walgreen to NVIDIA by any stretch of imagination. All I'm trying to say is that for NVIDIA to get somewhere, it was a year and a half ago, I think. Probably a little bit longer than that. It was $130 stock. So to climb from 130, with all the coronavirus and all the recession and everything else, to climb to, say, 570 now, right?
Yeah, around there.
570. 590. So from
590. Oh my gosh, it's up $20 in the last 2 days or something.
I know.
From 590 to climb to 1,000, it's a matter of 3 to 4.
Look at that incline. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. This is like the Amazon deal stock. I mean, it's just really, it has taken off. I just hate to buy things after the run up.
Well, you don't have to. You could buy. You could sell the puts at a lower rate, Nick. In other words, I sold them at 500. So I built in some padding because I figured maybe I think the internet, with volatility, maybe we'll hit a crisis mode, and but maybe the internet will go down 10%. These big companies are 15. But if I buy it at 500. And then I also got whatever it was, $70. I forgot now, but the premium, $70 maybe, whatever it was per share. So I'm really buying it at like 430. And then if it's over 500, I keep all the money. And otherwise, Yeah, that's a nice one. Nvidia's done incredibly well. Sasha, do you have any others? Is that your main one now, or do you have?
No, it's not. It's not the main one.
What else do you
I
like?
have large positions, but both ways, both puts and calls on Zoom.
Oh, you like Zoom, really?
Remember, yeah. Well, I recommended Zoom. Actually, it went up tremendously in the last few days. Since I last recommended, it was I think 345, 347. I think it's, as you see now, it's 425 or something. It goes to
Here's Zoom, baby. It's 429 a share.
429. It goes
Unbelievable.
to 520, maybe 560, probably even.
And what did you do? You sold the puts and the calls?
I sold five. No, what I did, I sold 5 calls and 10 puts.
Oh.
I have very large position. That's probably my largest position because obviously this is well, it's risky. But by the times when I sold it, when the stock was 360, something like that, so I took that position. When it had climbed to 390, I sold also calls. But again, I sold twice as many puts as calls.
Now, why did you do that? I don't understand, and it's interesting that you did that.
Why? Okay, I'll tell you why. So I think that the highest price of Zoom was about 570.
568 and 34.
568. Okay, close enough. Yeah. So this is sort of a territory where there was a resistance. There was it was still pretty good earnings report, but they complained they didn't like that their allocation of cash was not bullish enough or so on. There were some criticisms, so the stock's likely to go down. So nothing fundamentally changed for the company. The earnings are there, but they didn't like this. Probably it doesn't matter what they commented at the time. The most important thing is that stock was running a little bit ahead of itself. It was overvalued, and so the market took good care of it. But how much overvaluated good companies should go down? Say 20%, and there is no recession, there's nothing. It's just that particular stock. And there is nothing, there is no competition for Zoom anyway. So the stock went down big time, 20%. So I decided now the downside is still there, but it's getting a lesser and lesser downside.
Yeah.
Stock going down. So when I saw that there is a certain plateau around 350 level, slightly lower, slightly higher than that, but below 350 there is a very difficult time for Zoom to go. And as you know, stock is moving in the direction of a less resistance. So there is a resistance for Zoom to go below 350, and there is almost no resistance, as we can see now, to go to higher levels, say to 400 and higher. And that's exactly what's happening. So when it started to approach 400, I sold puts, calls. But of course, only 5 if I sold 10 puts. And the premiums are astronomical. I don't want to tell you about the premiums because you will start hating me. So the premium was... it's one good rule in many casinos when you play. My wife loves 3-card poker, so I played 3-card poker just to please her because my game is a blackjack. So I played 3-card poker, and they have a rule when you have Flash Royale, and I got 3 or 4 times. So there is an envy bonus. Everyone who sits on the table with you gets $75. Just because you sort of sitting there when one of the players got Crown Royal. So this is, I should institute the envy bonus here on the show. Okay, so the premiums are incredible. The premiums for calls are incredible. And the only thing is, I didn't want to worry every day about the direction of the market. And because I'm very greedy when premiums are concerned, I sold far calls and puts. I sold January 22 puts and June 22 calls. So why did I do that? Very simple. If I will be exercised, and probably I will exercise on my on my puts, because I believe the puts, the stock will go higher than 500. That's for sure. So and I sold. Remember, I sold 510 puts. With the time premium, you can only figure out how much money I got for all that. So now, when I will be exercised on those, then the calls that I sold are becoming covered calls, because now I have stock. Plus, because I sold twice as many. Okay, so now I'm covered on calls, and I still have.
Unless the stock really shoots up, but basically you don't think it will. But
no, that's fine. If stock shoots up, I will be exercised on my puts.
Well, also you'd also get exercised on the calls.
Well, what's happened is that the stock should, let's say, before expiration, before January 22, stock will shoot up to 700, for example, right? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible.
It is possible.
That's the risk. Yeah.
But do you see their financials? This is really weird. Zoom Video Communications reported revenue of $622 million, which is substantial for fiscal year 2020, an increase of 923%. Okay, that's unbelievable. Net income grew 180,850%. Think about that, Peter. Net income grew 180,850%. Now, obviously, okay, you did that in 2020 because you had the big coronavirus run up. And the stock ran up, rightfully so. What's the next big run up for Zoom? That's what I'm looking for. In other words, like, I agree with Sasha. It'll eventually go to $500 a share, but when will it go to $500 a share? Is it going to be this year or 10 years from now? Where's their next big run up?
No, it's going to happen 3 maybe 4 months from now. Because remember,
you're right.
Nick, it's if you know the calculus and mathematics and geometry, you should understand very easily. So to climb from 350 to 4 is much more difficult than 450 to 5.
Yeah, and they're sitting at 429. They've been over 500 a share before, so it's quite possible you're right. In other words, it could have another run up. I'm just trying to figure out what would trigger the run up other than cash coming into the market, because your friend Joe Biden borrows $2 trillion and just throws it out there. Okay. And because of that, the money has to go somewhere. It's like water. Money's got to go somewhere, and it's not going to go to cash because there's no money there. You can't make your money off of cash. So it's going to go in the stock market. So
okay, if you believe that Zoom is a risky proposition, probably
I don't think it is. I think you're right.
Then look at Tesla. Tesla just acquired $1.5 billion in bitcoins. So go run and buy Tesla. Now, the only
I'd rather buy Zoom.
I don't like to speculate is Tesla, because this is, look, I'm not technical person, and I cannot appreciate all the patents that Tesla has, all the technologies what Tesla has, and why is it different from Nia and some other electric car engines. Actually, it's down today. Okay, it's
down 41, about 41 share.
5%.
But see, Tesla, I have a problem with the price earnings ratio. I have a problem with the run up. The run up was 72 to 800 a share. Okay, that's a big run up, dude. I have problems with the fundamentals. I have problems with the management. I have problems with their ideas. I have problems with everything, And so with Tesla, may be good for the gambler, and probably everybody who's gambling will go to run up Tesla. But GameStop, AMC, Tesla, just they ain't my cup of tea for a long-term investing. I think it's just trash.
What's interesting, though, that what you said is right, and it's well known to all the fund managers and mutual funds and everybody, and everyone has at least some shares of Tesla. Everyone, nobody can avoid it.
I probably own some too if they're one of my managers.
A small allocation to Tesla, not that I have it, is interesting because it's sort of like half a lottery ticket. In other words, in 20 years or 15 years, I would not be surprised at all if they're at zero or very close to zero, because there's going to be a lot of competition, but they are the first mover, and maybe they'll dominate the car industry, and half the cars out there will be Teslas. Nobody can know. So it's sort of like a lottery ticket, which isn't my investment style generally.
There we go. Yeah. Well, it's a high grade lottery.
But even worse, it's a long-term lottery
Okay. Yeah.
ticket. So the question is, where's it going to go in the next 6 months or a year? And that depends on how people value the lottery ticket. And nobody can really tell what it's going to be worth until 5 or 10 years develops and more.
What's happening now is that a lot of people believe that forget about the cars, what they build. It's a battery play because they have such batteries available that no one else has. That's number one. Number two, now it's a Bitcoin play because now they've invested heavily into Bitcoin, and they believe that
you're talking about two things I don't believe in. Bitcoin, which by the way, I have a Bitcoin. Somebody gave it to me for free.
Wow.
Okay, this was like 4 or 5 years ago. The guy was king of Bitcoin. I was interviewing him at Money 2020 show. I said, here's one. I go, what the heck is it? He goes, it's a Bitcoin. I said, it's worth something. He goes, nah, maybe $1 or $2. So I got one sitting in my thing. Now it's supposed to be worth $43,000.
That's your Nick. It's
stupid. Why don't you sell it, Nick?
I will, but here was the problem, Peter. Actually, I've been looking around to sell it, but around North Carolina, there was no outlet place to sell it. So you have this stupid Bitcoin sitting. It's in one of my drawers up here, and I have no place to sell it. I'm going, okay, I'll just keep it. But if I could find a place to unload it at $43,000, I'm out. It's to me, that's the stupidest thing in the world.
There's got to be some place to sell it, if you would think.
You would think, yeah, but go
$43,000. I mean, otherwise, what's the value of it if you can't sell them at all?
Well, that was my problem with it to begin with. So I kept going, okay, Bitcoin, you guys like Bitcoin. That's great. For me, I just don't get it. It's like selling poker chips. Okay, they're worth something. You can cash them out at casinos. You can have a stack of them, but so what? I mean, that's my attitude toward Bitcoin. So this guy is into all the Looney Tune things out there, driverless cars, solar panel cars, taking trips to the moon. I mean, come on, this guy lives in a bloody fantasy world. Here's what'll happen. Okay, in the next 10 years, there's going to be an adjustment, and this thing is going to be the biggest dog that you've ever seen. It'll be Enron, MCI WorldCom. It'll be like what was it, GameStop? I said this
GameStop.
It crashed sooner. But this will be just a bigger bubble that explodes. Everything that he looks at. The only thing that's good. Some of the fundamentals is that their income increased per share because they actually now have earnings per share. In other words, we're not totally busted anymore. Okay, but it's really a dreamer. If a person wants to throw their money away into charity or they just want to buy Tesla, both are about the same.
I wouldn't be surprised, but obviously a lot of people disagree.
Well, it's a charity.
They could be the dominant car company because they do have advantages right now.
No, the Chinese are already basically banning them or come out with the Chinese Y car. I mean, as you look at this, the thing is, this is a guy's dream. And what gets me is there's so many dreamers out there. He
is a dreamer. Yeah.
He's a dreamer. The investors are a dreamer, and this is a dream. Okay. Now,
I tend to think so. I tell you, Bitcoin, the governments are going to come out someday, probably. This is probably going to happen, and they're going to say we're going to issue our own Bitcoin equivalent because we want to control it. We want to know who's doing the transactions, and we're not going to just let people print.
Yeah. Or Peter, even worse.
It's counterfeiting, basically.
Either worse, they're going to say, "Oh, I see you're using Bitcoin to launder money across international borders."
Another issue, yeah.
Okay, it's money laundering, and they'll just shut down. And this is a false currency. Only governments can issue currency. Bang! And that thing is right down the toilet.
Yeah.
Bitcoin. That I really don't understand the Bitcoin. I really don't. However, one thing what I don't understand, there are a lot of people who believe that Bitcoin is going to $200,000.
Peter, there's Sasha. There are people that believe the world. Peter, Sasha, there are people that believe the world is flat. So what?
Some people. I know.
And tulips in Holland were going for I forgot what it was, $200 a tulip at one point because the same thing happened.
Exactly, I remember the tulip.
200 years ago, everybody started bidding up tulips. It's like $5, $10, $15, $100. But somehow, in the end, you could get a tulip for free by planting it.
One thing what I don't understand really is, for example, today, Bitcoin went down, I think 5% or so. Based on what? Why did it
Probably
go?
because it ran up when Musk just bought into it. Everybody thought, oh,
Yes.
Musk bought into it, so
That
now
means it
it
must be
must be
good.
real. Except for he's, like we said, the guy who's going to do tubes, transportation tubes around the country, and we're going to go to the moon, and and it seems to be happening. But
We're going to go to
and
the moon.
you can never know what a dreamer can accomplish. But I'm
I
not going to throw all
agree.
my money into it, especially a coin that's somebody's basically printed up in their own living room and said, oh, this is worth this, because the only value is it's good for games, by the way, which is my
That's a
my
poker chip. It's a
yeah,
poker chip.
it's a chip for games.
You have to start playing games.
That doesn't make it $100,000 chip or a $50,000 chip or $40,000 today.
So,
I mean,
but by the way, does anyone want to buy my Bitcoin chip for its 43,000
I'll give
value?
you what you paid
I'll give
for
it
it.
to you for 20 grand right now. I
You
got it
should
up here.
definitely. I'd find a place. Nick, if you research it, I bet you can get rid of that pretty.
I did several years ago. I haven't looked in since then.
It's
And
got
another problem I had with Bitcoin is selling it, acquiring it, trading it. Well, at least a couple years ago, the guy gave it to me in 2015 or 2016. It's been a long time. And the real problem, every time I researched, okay, now how do you get rid of it? And there wasn't any place back then to get rid of it. And if I wanted, that was a problem.
But there must be a market for trading.
there has to be.
There has to.
Well, I'll see if I can dust it out and show it to you guys.
Yeah, just Google it.
Kind of a
Just
cute
sell
looking
it.
coin.
If you don't like it, sell it. $43,000. You have to pay capital gains. But by the way, I just want to go back to those points about the puts and the calls and everything. All these couple position points. One is sometimes it's better to hedge. And in other words, if you sell a call, especially, you want to buy a higher call. Sell a higher call, because in case it moves against you, because you can make a lot of premium and still protect yourself. I tend to do that. In other words, let's say I sell a put on Google, then what if I can do a different put for a lot less premium just to protect myself. And the other thing is it does use a lot of capital. So you don't want to, use your margin balances up too much, because, otherwise you can then get a call, and you can really get hammered on that. So you have to be careful about how much of your margin power you use. So that's
Peter, it depends on the stock. There is a big difference between Google and, for example, Zoom, right? With Zoom, I never felt comfortable to be exercised. I really wanted to avoid be exercised. So when I sold these puts at that time, when I believe they were quite out of the money, and I didn't believe, and I sold 510 because I wanted to extract premium, and because of the farthest expiration month, which is January 22, I got so much premiums that I had to figure out something must be fundamentally wrong for stock to lose this position. Stock has to go down to probably $150 a share or 200, something like that. Really, some kind of a tragic development has to happen for me to really become worried about this position. So then I sold calls when stock started to go a little bit higher. I sold calls. So now I got so much premium for both calls and puts that, to tell the truth, I stopped worrying about anything, whether it will run higher to $700 or it will go now to to the 200. I'm still protected. If it will go lower than 200, I will start to incur some losses on the put side. But again, but the worst case scenario is that I will get exercise. So I will end up with a $200 stock. My price, well, I will get it at 510, don't forget. But my price with all the premium collected will go only 200.
Yeah, you're saying the premium protects you a lot because you get premium on both sides, unless it goes really skyrockets. If it really skyrockets, those calls are going to catch you, right?
Well, listen, I've sold.
But I don't think it will. But from what I've seen, but I'm no expert on Zoom. But I haven't studied enough. But if it went to $1,000 or at some point, then
it can go to 1,000. You know what? The worst case, I will have to just let's see if the stock going very quickly to say 500, 525 a share, and it will be well before my expiration. So then I would assume that all the premium on the put side is mine to keep. And remember, I sold twice as many puts. Okay, so the premium is mine for all practical purposes. So I will just simply acquire stock, 500 shares, or
Oh,
I will sell further calls as a protection.
so you buy if the stock goes up too much, you'll buy the stock back to protect against the calls being too.
Exactly, I will buy stock because I already, for all practical purposes, I would think that
Because
all
you made the money on the puts.
is mine to keep. So that premium alone will pay easily for the stock for me to buy.
Oh,
So
interesting.
now all I'm sitting on the time on both sides.
Right.
Time. Every week, every month, whatever is going, it's all going to put money in my pocket. Now, when we're talking about, let's see, September, October, when it's getting close to expiration, then the premiums will start to go down, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
Basically, you're getting
right
paid
now,
for your time. It's almost like a paycheck. Every day goes by and you make some money. As time goes on, unless and then you're kind of hedged that you can back up. And most of the time, you just make the money as the time goes on.
That's right. So this is a really very nice situation. But you know what? If I can do it on Zoom, why wouldn't I do it on Microsoft or some other blue chip stocks or so on? But you see, the premiums are not the same.
Right.
Not-
NVIDIA, you're getting a good premium on NVIDIA.
So on Nvidia you get good premiums.
Right. Yeah.
You still do, believe it or not.
Yeah.
On Microsoft, not really. Well, I'm always have some positions in Microsoft.
Right.
I think a little bit of money.
Yeah, I like Microsoft too. Like I said, it seems like the safest of the big three. And
Yeah.
I forgot, I moved from 180 to 200 on my puts. I sold the 180s at profit and moved to 200 because same thinking. You're getting the more put money, and I don't think Microsoft's probably going down a lot anyway. It's one of the.
Well, they moved to a
180, in my opinion.
Yeah, some of the big boys like Lyons Bernstein and
Sure.
they have really big positions and really big, even within their portfolio. Microsoft now they may have got run up, but they're staying with it.
But Peter, as you know, Microsoft moved to a recurring revenue
Yes.
theme as opposed to what they were doing is packaging their software and then coming out with a new announcement. You all need to buy the new software. Today, they got everybody hooked, including my company and everybody else's company,
Exactly.
on their recurring revenue. You've got to buy their monthly subscription, or they basically turn you off. So so what happens? They're just a cash cow. All they're doing is collecting
Exactly.
money.
That was the change.
That was a big change, which and that's what I'm saying. A lot of these tech, it really depends on how they're managed. I mean, I'm not sure how Zoom's going to manage, but I would agree with Sasha. Managed properly, it's $1,000 a share stock. So is NVIDIA.
Yeah, but I don't think it will be. I think I like your position in Zoom because in a way, because I don't think it will go up that much. I like your position because you win if it stays flat, and there is competition coming. As a matter of fact, one of my friends works for a company
that's the problem I always have.
that sells and some of the other big tech companies. I can't remember. I think it might be Microsoft and others are getting into that. They're going, wait a minute, we're not going to give you this market. We're going to either buy little companies that are doing it or
Microsoft is already in the market. They bought LogMeIn. They go to meetings. We have both those services. Microsoft already owns GoToMeeting through LogMeIn.
Right.
So they're actually a player inside the market. Zoom made a big splash because when coronavirus hit, they said, we're free for a little while, attracting a lot of people in. And then we're free, but we also have a paid subscription. So they just really did like this and captured a lot of the market. But that was management and marketing. And that pushed the Zoom stock up. And unfortunately, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, we're probably right about it being flat.
They're developing a company like they're adding calendar, they're adding a lot of options to their basic package.
Yes.
Number two is because maybe one of the reasons the stock went down is that they thought, okay, so the coronavirus is now out, there is a vaccine. Who needs Zoom? But apparently, a lot of companies who are in Zoom right now, they're not going to terminate Zoom.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree.
It's quite convenient to use.
No doubt about it. I read a really interesting study. We're running out of time, but I read it. This is why I stay totally away from the office market. There was an interesting study that said that 21% personnel managers in big companies previously said 21% of their employees would be remote, but now they're saying 37%. So almost twice as many, and I think it'll be more. But in the end, I think it's an evolution. But so you're going to have a lot more people being remote. But the only question then is, as I said, competition. Does Zoom win, or does go to meeting, or some of the other companies?
Well,
it's another battleground area. But I think that the general industry is going to be very healthy.
So what will happen with the office spaces, with the commercial real estate?
I think it's the next financial crisis. You heard it here first. I don't think nobody's talking about that, but to me, this could be the black swan, because you have huge amounts of office space, not only in New York and
around the whole country,
around the world, in London and all this stuff. What if all this stuff is all vacant, and now the banks are owning, have mortgages on these buildings that are worthless? They can convert some to residential. I'm not saying it's well, we'll see. I wouldn't invest in offices. I don't know if it'll cause the black swan or not, but black swans are pretty hard to call. But if there's a black swan I see, potentially that's it. I mean, there's a world of offices out there that may be where, a third of them may be useless, or maybe half down the road. That's a lot of money in commercial real estate that somebody's going to have to lose money on.
So what's going to do with the space? Are you going to open laundromats?
Well, they could try to convert some to residential, like in New York, but it's expensive.
Yeah, they would convert to residential.
Probably. Yeah, but that's it's not so easy.
It's expensive. It's not so easy to take office space and convert it to residential. But I agree with Peter. There may be an issue on a going forward basis, but you'll be surprised how creative they are in our neck of the woods.
Yeah.
What happened is Epic Games, which is a private company worth $17 billion. Wow. They produce video games, believe it or not. They bought a whole mall called the Town Center Mall in Cary, 1 million square feet for $90 million, which is a deal. I mean, and you know what they're doing with this huge mall? They're going to convert it all to office space for Epic Games.
Yeah, so, now they realize they don't need it at all, because they can all have their employees at home.
Well, see, the reason why
it's all evolving.
The thing is, they like the personal collaboration, and if a company is doing really well, they don't mind throwing their money.
You still have half the employees or more. People are going to want to be together, but then maybe less days, less time. Maybe. Each situation will be different.
Every situation, but I don't think you're going to get the big premiums on office space anymore, because you got to look at it and say, well,
even if 10% goes, there's going to be,
it's going to be softer,
because there's going to be all these vacancies. But if 20%, based on that study, of people working in offices are no longer working in offices, and I think it's just the beginning of a trend, then. And that doesn't even mention the fact that maybe some people will come in less, so this could be a collapse, because they said, let's say you're, Bank of America or, JP Morgan Chase, you've lent a lot of money to New York City office buildings and Los Angeles office buildings, San Francisco office buildings, and all these people are maybe, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying a black swan is very hard to predict, but I'm saying it's possible. It is
a movie big
more than 1%. Put it that way.
All I can say is oops for the people that own commercial office space.
Oh, I think so.
I've been down that rabbit hole before, but we're getting at the hour, and I'll tell you about commercial office space. So I have my own personal feelings, but not only that, involvement in commercial office space. We're at the hour, and so we'll probably have to go
along with your Bitcoin.
Along with my Bitcoin. I'm going to go look for that stupid Bitcoin.
You should.
All right. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, thank you very much for your participation for the program. I think we discussed a lot of interesting points, including Bitcoin, office space, and a lot of other stuff like Zoom and NVIDIA and a few other stocks. Hopefully, we'll have a good trading week ahead of us, and we'll see you next Wednesday. It's IBM TV, Modern Investing with Sasha. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.